Hey guys, welcome to another live play and explain video. It's been a while since my last video. I've been busy grinding live in Felden and it didn't go quite my way. So now we will try to grind it back online. And as it's a Tuesday afternoon, the action is pretty much dead. I think it was a good time to record a video. With the recreational overcalling, I think we can call the 5-4 suited. Don't know the button either. Might also be a recreational player. Interesting small seabed sizing. I mean, it's almost getting close, but I think you can still muck. Interesting 4.5x open from under the gun. So very important to take a note of this. And if he varies his sizing, we can attack him pretty aggressive with 3-bets. And 9-8-8 I think is just a pretty great board in those positions. So I think half pot with range should be fine on this board. It doesn't really have 8x or 9x a lot, so it's pretty much a blank board, and given that we are the pre-flop aggressor, we still maintain our strong overpairs and strong high cards on that board. So out position is pretty fucked on the board. Queen 7-4 is not really a range bet in those positions. The big blind has hands like 6-3 suited, 5-8 suited, which connect pretty well, which we don't have. Our hand is a pretty decent hand to c-bet, but on a very low roll we check back. If this was button big blind, I think we could just range bet probably. Facing the half pot turn bet is pretty weird. Kind of tempting to raise. Looks to me like a hand like 8-6, maybe a weak queen. But I think we have to check back now, as we still sometimes win versus a hand like ace-5 in spade. But I think we'll check back and lose to 8-5. Okay, the queen. With pocket sevens, you can, if you play a 3-bet or fold strategy, you mainly fold, but with a recreational in the blinds, I think calling is fine. And we are kind of in a tough spot here. If it was heads up, it would be an easy continue. But given that it's multi-way, I imagine we can fold without the backdoor flush draw. 10-4-2 suited, I think, is a board which looks a bit worse than it is, but we will still have a decent checking frequency. And we face the big step. I think our hand will mainly go into the check call. And I think we could implement even some donks on the turn. 8 for deuce is half pot check in those positions. And I don't hate it. Basically we're saying we check call their big bet on the flop, so we can't really have nothing, while he can still see bet the hand like queen 8 off, queen 9 off. And I think he will just be in a bit of a tough spot versus this sizing. So he does call. having diamonds is not great as we block most of his folds. So yeah, I don't like it, but I think this hand probably just has to give up. No. Let's say we had a hand like Queen 8 in hearts. I would much rather bluff that hand on the river now. Of course, easy fold. But they are pretty interesting turns, but I'm not sure how often you should raise in theory. But in practice, it is really tough to find enough raises. So I don't hate the donk at all. And on table 2, I think we will mainly go for the check with the 7s. As player 1 still could just check his range and be completely uncapped. It's not like he was checking back in a heads-up situation. And of course, very easy call on the turn. And when he snap checks back, I assume he has a hand like pocket 6s, pocket 5s. His 9 is a bit surprising, I have to say. And we face a half pot bet on a turn, which is also very weird. Every pair will call, every ace 10, every queen 10 I think will call. But ace 9 I don't think has any business defending. Usually this is a pretty clear overbet or check spot. So I wonder, like maybe he's trying to value bet turn check X, queen X, but I don't think it's a pretty good strategy. And maybe split sizings, but if you were to use only one sizing, and this is definitely a spot where one sizing is perfectly fine, then overbet should be your choice. Half pot check texture, and I think on the 10 low board, which is pretty disconnected, we can still have quite a high c-betting frequency. Pretty interesting turn now. So on the king, usually you almost range barrel. I think if there are like pocket 8s and pocket 9s are the two hands that don't want to barrel. So in theory, I think the way this range is constructed is you have like 80% barrels or something, and then you check some sets and 9s and 8s. That's about it. And we will check again on the turn. And I might even bluff catch. Let's say he has 6s, 7s, 8s. It could be very incentivizing for him to bluff those hands, as he will likely never win a showdown. But it's not a spot where he's allowed to bluff all of his underpairs. Versus on the gun, I think we can just fold. Versus the button, I think this would be a mix call on the flop. But yeah, I think checking 9s, 8s, and then a hand like pocket 10s should be fine. Pocket kings I don't think really wants to check, as you make it much more likely that your opponent has a 10, which will call a bet, but not bet itself. But yes, a pretty rare line to end up in this line where you check turn on the king. Doesn't happen all that often. also wouldn't mind some feedback which type of videos you guys prefer. Last time I made something different with a hand analysis video, and yeah, I would be interested to see which format you guys like. Versus the 9.5, I think we can just fold the queen check. And turning the open ender, it's a pretty clear overbet or check spot. We can overbet, but we could also go for a check raise, which I'm going to do this time. I think the hands that check raise are some flush draws, some open enders, and then some 4x, which blocks the turn sets. We also want to raise pretty huge, as we're already seeing that we have 2 pair plus. And we want to go kind of geometric. Also, I'm not sure about the sizing. Once you're multi-way, you usually size down. Let's say as a hand like king, queen, king, check, I don't think you can really, it's a great idea to bet this sizing on the turn. And we rip the absolute nuts. Plus are going to be hands like 4-5 suited. But yes, pretty nice run out, of course. He is tanking, so I suppose he doesn't have pocket checks. What? Huh? I thought this guy was a regular. Well, you can see sometimes you mislabel some people, but like that's completely insane. Huh? Yeah, that hand is crazy. Imagine bluffing 4-5 and then getting called down by checks in the spot. That would have hurt. Facing the donk, I think it's a pretty good spot to be very aggressive versus a recreational player usually. The donks are rarely trips, they are mostly 9x, some pairs, of course he could have a flush now. So I think I go for the check back on the turn and then bluff on like a queen or king river. And he goes for the jam. But yeah, aggressively attacking donks when it doesn't make sense from recreationals is a good strategy usually. They don't need to fold that often to print immediately on the flop, and oftentimes you get a nice run out where they will be scared to call down with the 9x or pocket 5s which they have on the flop. But I think on a flush turn, when he already calls the flop raise and I don't have a spade and I don't even have like a gut shot, let's say I raise king queen, then I could barrel. I think it's time to check back. Table 2 is a 75 check spot and king 6 will mainly go into the check back range. Facing a flat by a recreational player in the small blind, I don't mind just c-betting. Versus a regular, I would be very careful on this board as I expect deuces and threes to be in there very often. But I think recreational still has a way too wide range. And on the turn, I think it's again a 75 for check spot and king 6 will mainly go checking again, I believe. I mean, if I bet 75 and he calls, there are not that many runouts where I get another value bet in anyways.